You're a mama's boy, nigga.
What's
Big
a
time.
mama's boy?
You,
oh my God.
You.
Wait, y'all serious or y'all pardon?
We serious.
Both. I'm not a mama's boy.
You speak to your mother every single day. Yo, your mother's the first person you call with a problem.
Y'all don't
A
know
boy or man
so y'all don't know what mama's boy means.
obsessively influenced by or attached to his mother. There you go, nigga. Or attached
I'm calling
to
my mama.
I know.
This is the Joe Budden Podcast, one of the most respected and prominent podcasts in the culture.
What does P mean?
Are you? Is this the grandfather podcast? Are you recommending a
Fucking record stinks. Dog, this society is fucked up.
room with a blanket?
No.
Spearheaded by the man himself, Joe Budden.
That's a long-winded way of saying I'm amazing at what I do. Thank you.
This podcast is known to be entertaining,
Niggas just be talking on this podcast, yo.
funny,
Hey, Joe.
What?
Sorry about this, man.
Man, nah, it's all right, man.
as well as engaging and informative. These are some of the adjectives that the avid listener would throw out when describing this podcast. But that's exactly what I want to do with those adjectives. Throw them out. Not because they don't apply, because they most certainly do. But because I believe what Joe, Parks, Ice, and Ish do for hours every single week is much greater than those surface level descriptions. There is an actual genius behind the chaos and an extremely high level of communication skills that I think goes over most people's heads. I want to take an in-depth look into the people and the process behind one of the most successful podcasts on the planet. Today on Culture Breakdown.
Salute to my guy Jamal Nolan at Jam44L.
Pay attention to Jamal Nolan. Up and coming star.
In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the evolution of Ice and Ish, the communication skills that Joe, Parks, Ice, and Ish use to captivate and trigger culture, and how the Joe Budden Podcast is ran more like the Warriors organization than a podcast network.
What do you think good potting is?
All culture breakdowns come from a place of curiosity. And about 5 months ago, I thought to myself, man, Ice and Ish have sure come a long way in such a short amount of time. I wonder if I went back to their first episode, if I could actually watch their evolution and find the exact moment that things changed. Yes, the episode is 476, 3 a.m. in Rikers.
Hey, Alex. Come tell me what type of material this is.
It's not Walmart material.
You African.
Fam.
You my guy, y'all. Yo, you basta. You basta.
Is this thing on?
It's on.
We recording?
Man.
Let's just let the world hear Ish enjoy, like, freedom. Like, you hear
That's
him?
how you starting out the podcast.
If you notice here, Ish's voice is the first thing we hear on this episode for an extended period of time at that. This isn't the first time that Ish's voice is the first thing we hear, but it is the most significant demonstration of his presence. Let me explain why this is so significant for Ish's evolution. Prior to this, there were moments in any given podcast where Ish didn't say anything for 30 plus minutes sometimes. You would hardly even recognize that he was there if you was purely just listening. This was a common occurrence actually. If you go back to the earlier episodes with this new crew, it was like a one-man show, like Kobe in 06 scoring 81.
This would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game. You have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
I do it for the creators.
Oh, man.
The entrepreneurs, the house builders, the fucking carpet layers. I don't even know what his job title is.
However, there were two things that attributed to the podcast becoming a version of ISO basketball. Joe's team was new and still learning, and Joe had things that he needed to address personally darn near every single week. So it was the perfect storm for Joe to showcase his talents and reveal his entertainment value. Now back to Ice and Ish. In that period, Ish wasn't the only person standing on the sidelines. So was Ice. Ice having been on the pod before and somewhat accustomed to it, when they got to the music related topics, Ice was in his bag. He was shining. He was actually in his comfort zone. During this time, you can see that Parks also made an assertive effort to step up and contribute, more than he did previously to help shoulder some of the load.
Can't relate. I just say, hey Siri, turn the temperature to, and she does it.
My bad, Batman.
Sorry. Okay, Bruce.
But as time goes by, episode after episode, the boys start to find their rhythm. You can spot countless comments claiming that this is the best podcast, and now they have their chemistry together. Darn near every episode after Ish was released from Rikers. There are a lot of things that factor into you becoming comfortable on and off camera. Practice is definitely one of them. And having the ability to communicate effectively is certainly one of them as well. But Ice has leveled up continuously. Easily the most growth I've seen in a person within a year.
If you have rode with us this year, then you will notice, like we have, Ice's wardrobe is not for play anymore. All them little jokes that y'all was getting off,
Y'all can continue to get off.
while we were transitioning, they cease to exist now. Honestly. Nah, it's him.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'm
No,
going to
for
fuck it up.
real.
Look at his face. I got a trick for you niggas.
He let us know right here that he was going to keep evolving. We just didn't catch it. In the 3 or 4 months since I started my research and working on this video, Ice has gotten LASIK surgery, jewelry, new kicks. He's really in his bag. And the only reason I bring that up is because if you look good, you feel good, you pod good. That's the old saying, right? I'm curious though as to when exactly do you guys think that they hit their stride? Leave it down below in the comments. There are obviously highlight moments for each guy over the past year and some change. Everyone has their comfort zones, but now they can all mix it up and contribute to any given topic that's on the list for the day, which makes a great cohesive podcast and fantastic entertainment, which is the main purpose at the end of the day. And that requires a high level of awareness, practice, and understanding. They obviously put in hours off the pod to improve. You can tell that they spend time together talking and strategizing when the podcast is not going on. And we have to give Joe his credit for that. Not only being able to spot the talent and potential, but developing it and giving them time and room to grow into entertainers. See, Joe understands content inside and out. How to garner attention, how to captivate an audience, and what buttons to push and when. He also understands how much views, engagement, listens, etc. matter and how they translate to dollars. There is an absolute genius mind within Joe Budden that's not appreciated. And this isn't me just dick riding because I'm a fan. It's me, as a creator, with the most analytical brain on this platform, analyzing someone's talent and recognizing nothing is by mistake. Everything is by design. Let me stop talking about it and let me prove it with the skills that he possessed to influence and entertain the culture. Life is better when we're laughing.
Jussie Smollett has been released from jail. I'm not mad at it. No. What?
I want to find him and make a citizen's arrest. I wish he would have slapped somebody before Bad Boys 3 came out. If there was a movie that needed to be stopped, they let that bullshit roll right on out.
Joe understands comedy and all that comes with it. There are a few comedic tools that Joe uses on the podcast, such as this.
From with him and his lady at the strip club.
No, he has a great relationship.
You don't?
No, I've never had.
Got you.
I'm joking. That's a podcast joke. Is trying to set me up because he just came home.
Joe is so good at delivering the unexpected. Jokes are the best when you don't see them coming. Let's talk about his storytelling abilities.
Who wants to hear a story?
Oh, no.
There's a few essential elements you need to tell a great story. Pacing, which builds interest and suspense. Character/world building, which sets the scene and establishes the players.
Character development is important in stories.
And this is the hardest part and the most overlooked element. But what order to tell a story in? To tell a great story, and a funny one at that, you have to know which details go where, when to omit certain details, and when to add the punchlines. That's difficult because most people want to tell a story in the order of events that they happen, which isn't always the funniest order. And then you also have to have the ability to embellish in the right spots as well. Joe is a master at all of these. Other elements that take storytelling over the top would be some voices.
Yo, what advice would you have to the artist that's trying to get to where you got to today?
Shit, I want a man with some money, disability.
Animation.
No. Oh, the takes are jumping out of me. I can't control the takes.
Also, Joe is a master at misdirection, which is something that all the best comedians do. You think the story is going one direction when in fact it's a completely different outcome. All the fellas have their comedic styles. Parks is the king of one-liners.
Niggas look really rich. I ain't gonna hold you.
Well, everybody is really rich.
Yeah.
How much money you got to make to be there?
A year?
A year.
You could have went there.
Nobody told me about it.
Maybe you couldn't.
Ice and Ish have the most relatable skill, which is snapping on your friend.
I found a gray hair in my balls the other day. I almost had a heart attack.
I want to know how you seen it.
Look down.
Looking at your
You be
shit.
expecting your ball
This
hair?
nigga fat, so he'll,
I'm fat.
We've all been that person or been around that person. Also, it's just fun to laugh at Ish, especially when he get into his old man saying.
Nigga, my legs ain't long enough. Yo, what I'm saying is this. Dog, you can't be a victim when you're a volunteer.
Wait. Wait a second, yo. Yo, Ish, can you stop doing? What the fuck does your legs length have to do with?
Now that I've gotten the comedy aspect of the podcast out of here and we've all had some good laughs, let's look at some of their most valuable attributes. Ish is very wise and intelligent, which makes for a great insight on a wide range of topics. He is usually very articulate in his points. Whether you agree with him or not, you at least have a clear understanding. Also, just being able to receive real value, whether it's advice, an alternate opinion, or a thoughtful idea, or just useful new information is so dope to me, and is a dynamic that I am appreciative to have. I personally don't enjoy digesting garbage. So anytime that I can learn or be challenged in my way of thinking, that is time well spent. Ice's raw and unfiltered opinion is exactly what the game's been missing. I feel a lot of times just like him on certain takes, and it is a value to know that you're not alone, but also that someone actually put their foot down on a public platform and says something that is the unpopular opinion.
I'm gonna ask camera 3 to look right at me. And, yo, officially Ice, Wale will smoke J. Cole in a versus.
We all have our biases, but we can also just keep it real. And Ice's opinions are fair. They aren't personal attacks. They are well-explained critiques on music, current events, or whatever. Ice came into the game opinionated, but he has learned how to most effectively get his opinion out to serve his purpose. Parks is very insightful as well. He has a unique view on music and the world. Being a producer, I think that you hear and see things differently. And I like when he gets into his nerdy music bag.
A lot of these niggas, the love ain't there, the artistry ain't there.
Oh, never mind that. To the
I'm getting out of
to
this.
the end user, it's like
Scary.
it's like a utility more than an art now. You know what I'm saying? It's like something that you have in the background, like lights, as opposed to being the centerpiece, like a painting on your wall, like it used to be.
When I was coming up, like a record deal for me.
It's a side of music that we don't get to see enough. Also, Parks knows his role. He is there to compliment and help everyone else get theirs. Up until this point, I've only mentioned Joe's comedic ability and storytelling, but those are the skills he uses to entertain the listeners. He also has to simultaneously impact culture, occasionally. And how does he do that? Sharing unpopular opinions in a dramatic fashion, putting on a one-man clinic, and knowing that there is value in shock. Also, I said this earlier, Joe is a genius. He's not doing anything without a purpose. He moves and speaks strategically. I've talked about this before on my channel when it was much smaller and much worse quality, but the point still remained the same. When you look at the podcasting landscape, there are other great podcasts. Those are some of the teams that can rise up and win a championship in any given year if the circumstances are right. Then there are the Warriors. With Steph, Draymond, Clay, and now Wiggins, you expect them to be in contention for a ring every single year. Joe as Steph leading the team nightly, a star player putting up buckets and accepting all challenges. Parks is Draymond. Nothing flashy. He is just working his tail off to help Steph get his shots off and to help the team win. He is the ultimate team player. Ice as Clay, getting buckets when necessary, and he has the potential to win a couple games on his own. And Ish as the new addition Wiggins, he out there just to score, defend, and whatever else needs to get done. The beautiful way that the Warriors play basketball is how the Joe Budden Podcast feel after an amazing episode. Great chemistry, transitions, pick and rolls, alley-oop, deep threes, and great defense. They take the shots that others cannot make, and they nail them. It's just so amazing, man. So salute to Joe, Parks, Ice, and Ish, and the young boys in the back. I swear I could ramble about this all day long, but until next time, guys, I'm